Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be reading Dork Diaries, Tales from a Not So Fabulous Life, Book 1, Part 2 of 3. Last video, we left off on page 100. Read pages 1 to 109 and left off in 110. So I believe in this video, we're going to read 110 to 219. I believe that's right. If you go to enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications, because this video is going to be a long one. Enjoy. I may reread the last page or two that we left off on just to get a quick little recap. If that's fine with you guys. Okay, here we go. She was so busted. Finally, Mackenzie climbed out from behind the plant and sashayed over to the drinking fountain like she was thirsty or something. But it was very obvious to me that she was just trying to use water torture to force me to change my mind about entering the art competition. Me, Mackenzie, water, push. Oopsie, my bad. Mackenzie tried to act all innocent and apologetic, like the whole squirting me with water thing was just an accident. But I looked into her beady little eyes and could tell she absolutely meant to do it. I still could not get over the fact that I had actually caught her spying on me, which kind of made me angry because I don't follow her around spying on her and getting all up in her Kool-Aid, which BTW means business. Well, at least not that often. Today was totally an exception, mainly because we were both turning in entries for the art competition at the same time. But to stoop so low as to spy on me, that girl was one sick little puppy. Tuesday, September 17th. I absolutely hate this stupid school. Today at lunch, I was carrying my tray and trying to get to table 9, where I was supposed to meet Chloe and Zoe. Things were going pretty good because I had managed to sneak past the jock table without the football players making those embarrassing farting noises with their armpits. But as I was walking past Mackenzie's table, I really wasn't paying attention. She must have still been pretty mad at me about the party invitation at the art competition, because this is what happened. Me, Mackenzie's foot, table 9. Me in the cafeteria trying to get to table 9. I tripped and suddenly everything started moving in slow motion. My lunch tray went flying over my head, and I heard her very familiar voice shrieking, "No!" Then in horror, I realized it was mine. Crash! Me tripping and dropping my lunch tray in the cafeteria. I fell flat on the floor and was so stunned I could barely breathe. My spaghetti and cherry jubilee dessert were smeared across my face and the front of my clothes. I looked like a life-size version of one of Brianna's messy finger paintings. I just closed my eyes and lay there like a beached whale with every inch of my body aching. Even my hair hurt. However, the worst part was that the entire cafeteria was laughing like crazy. I was so embarrassed I wanted to die. I could barely see because I had cherry jubilee in my eyes, and it made everything look red and really blurry. Finally, I gathered the strength to crawl to my knees. But each time I tried to get up, I slipped in a mixture of spaghetti and milk and fell back down again. Crash! Me tripping and dropping my lunch tray in the cafeteria. Milk. I have to admit, I probably looked hilarious splashing around on my lunch like that. Then Mackenzie folded her arms, glared at me, and said, "So, Nikki, did you have a nice trip?" Of course, that witty little comment made everyone laugh even harder. It was the cruelest thing Mackenzie could have possibly said, especially since she was totally responsible for my trip. I was so humiliated I started to cry. The good news was the tears washed all the gunk out of my eyes, and I could see again. But the bad news was, all I could see was this guy kneeling over me with a camera dangling in my face. And only one person in the whole entire school owns a camera like that. I had no idea why my crush, Brandon, would want to permanently capture the most utterly humiliating moment of my entire pathetic life in a photo. Sorry, but I'm getting super upset all over again just writing about all of this. I think I need to go and have a good cry. I'll finish this diary entry later. Maybe. Wednesday, September 18th. Okay, I'll try this again. After I saw that camera in my face, I knew exactly what was going to appear on the front page of the next issue of our school newspaper. 25 cents. WCD News, Friday, September 20th. Lunchroom Disaster. 8th grader winds up messier than a sloppy Joe by Brandon Roberts. Nikki Maxwell. Me. It was very obvious to me that some way, somehow, Mackenzie had completely charmed Brandon with her awesome beautyliciousness and lured him over to the dark side, and then brainwashed him. How could my crush, the secret love of my life, do such a horrible and wicked thing to me? I felt like I had been stabbed in the heart with my favorite lucky purple ink pen, the hot pink sparkly one with the feathers, beads, and sequins on the end, but by my beloved Brandon, and left to die. On the floor of the cafeteria, with everyone watching and laughing. Then, the most bizarre thing happened. Brandon kind of smiled at me, slid his camera out of the way, grabbed my hand, and pulled me up off the floor. "Are you okay?" he asked. I gotta go get a drink of water. I'll be right back. Alright, let's continue. Then, the most bizarre thing happened. Brandon kind of smiled at me, slid his camera out of the way, grabbed my hand, and pulled me up off the floor. "Are you okay?" he asked. I tried to say yes, but my voice just made a gurgling sound like I was strangling or something. I swallowed and took a deep breath. "Sure, I'm fine. I ate spaghetti for dinner yesterday, but it wasn't nearly this slippery." I cringed. I couldn't believe I just said that. I am such an idiot. Then I watched, spellbound, as Brandon handed me a napkin in what seemed like slow motion. I almost died right there on the spot when our fingers accidentally touched. Ever so slightly, like a gentle but wild squirrel slurping sweet nectar from one of those dainty purpley flowers in my mother's garden that my dad accidentally sprayed with weed killer. Our eyes locked, and for a split second it was as if we were gazing into the deep, misty cavern of each other's wounded souls. I will forever remember the words you whispered into my trembling ear. I think you have something on your face." I blushed and my knees started feeling all wobbly. Probably my lunch. Yeah, probably. Unfortunately, our very serious emo convo, which means emotional conversation, was rudely interrupted by Mr. Snodgrass, our lunchroom monitor. But everyone calls him Mr. Snod, and a not so nice word. He started cleaning up the mess on the floor and lecturing me about my responsibility as a young adult to keep my food on my tray at all times. Brandon rolled his eyes at Mr. Snodgrass in a very chivalrous manner, and then he kind of smiled at me again. "I guess I'll see you in biology." "Yeah, okay, and thanks, for the napkin." "Hey, no prob. Actually, we have napkins just like this at home. My mom got them at the store." "Oh, that's, cool. Well, later. Sure, see you in bio." Then Brandon picked up his backpack and left the cafeteria. I just clutched the napkin over my heart and sighed. In spite of everything that had just happened, I suddenly felt very happy and tingly all over. But that feeling lasted only about 10 seconds, because that's how long it took for Mackenzie to completely ruin the moment. "Nikki, don't get your hopes up. Brandon would never like a freak like you." I just stared at her. I could not believe that girl was talking trash like that right to my face. Then Mackenzie blurted, "You are such a dork. OMG, look at her. I think she peed her pants." And then Jessica said, "OMG, you're right. She did pee her pants." Both of them pointed and laughed at me while the entire cafeteria watched. I was about to have another meltdown, so I ran out of the cafeteria and went straight to the girls' bathroom. There were three girls in there at the mirror trying out one another's lip gloss flavors. They completely froze and gawked at me in shock with their mouths dangling open. It was like they had never seen anyone covered from head to foot in spaghetti and cherry jubilee before. Some people are so rude. I kind of staggered back into the hallway like a zombie, but instead of leaving a trail of slimy, rotted flesh, I left a trail of spaghetti, sauce, and cherry jubilee. I was a disgusting, embarrassing mess. I wanted to go hide inside my locker and stay there until the school year was over. Why does it seem like almost everyone at this school hates me? Thursday, September 19th. I can't believe I'm still writing about what Mackenzie did to me in the cafeteria on Tuesday. That girl is such a drama queen. I guess I must be traumatized or something. Anyway, I was seriously thinking about calling my mom and going home for the rest of the day. That's when I noticed the janitor's utility closet near the drinking fountain. I tried the door and was relieved when it actually opened. I checked over my shoulder to make sure no one was watching me. Then I snuck inside. Janitor's closet. Alone at last. With a mildewy mop, I closed my eyes and sighed deeply. OMG, I felt just awful. I burst into tears and started writing in my diary. Push. Pretty soon, I heard some vaguely familiar voices whispering and snickering outside the door. I just knew Mackenzie and her crew were looking for me to harass. Me some more about peeing my pants. Are you sure she's in there? I think so. The spaghetti leads right up to this door and stops. You're right. Look at these cherry jubilee footprints. She has to be hiding in there. I was like, just great. At that moment, I would have given anything to just disappear into thin air. Then they actually have the nerve to knock on my door. Well, not exactly my door, but the door to the janitor's closet. I felt like the victim in one of those horror movies where the girl is home alone and hears a knock at the front door. And when she goes to open the door, everyone in the audience is yelling, don't open it, don't open it. But she knows the door anyway, but she opens the door anyway because she doesn't know she's in a horror movie. Sorry, but I wasn't that stupid. I knew I was trapped in a horror flick, so I didn't open the door to the janitor's closet. All of a sudden, it got really quiet, and I suspected it was a trick to make me think they had left. But I had a feeling in my gut they were still out there. Nikki, are you okay? We just heard what happened. Yeah, we wanted to make sure you were alright. That's when I finally recognized the voices. It was Chloe and Zoe. Zoe said, girl, don't make me burst this door down because you know I will do it. That kind of made me laugh because Zoe has trouble opening her locker, and sometimes even her bottled water. I was like, yeah, right. Then Chloe said, if you're not going to come out and talk to us, we're coming in. The next thing I knew, Chloe and Zoe were poking their heads inside the janitor's closet and acting all goofy. Chloe was snorting and giving me jazz hands, and Zoe was sticking out her tongue and giving me the stink eye. They were like, what's up, girlfriend? For some reason, seeing them made me start crying all over again. Soon the three of us were just chilling out in the janitor's closet, talking about all the drama with Mackenzie and Jessica. Chloe, Zoe, and me just chilling out in the janitor's closet. Toilet paper. Toilet paper. Toilet paper. Toilet paper. Toilet paper. Toilet paper. Crazy girl. Age. Gloves. Chloe, Zoe, and me just chilling out in the janitor's closet. But I left out the part about Brandon on purpose because I was still kind of embarrassed about it. Plus, I was pretty sure he'd pick Mackenzie over me any day. If I were a guy, I sure would. I was so not getting my hopes up about Brandon actually liking me. Pretty soon, the lunch period was almost over. Chloe and Zoe helped scrub most of the food stains off my clothes with paper towels and hand soap right at the big sink. There were still some stains we couldn't get off, though. I couldn't believe it when Zoe ran to her locker to get me her favorite Lucky sweater to wear to cover them up. And Chloe said that if I applied an extra amount of her candy apple swirl, ultra shiny lip gloss along with her midnight blue eyeliner, everyone, especially the guys, would notice my beautiful, lascivious lips and dreamy eyes instead of the milk stain on the front of my pants. Which, lucky for me, was not that noticeable, since it had started to dry up. Anyway, in spite of how bad things were at lunch on Tuesday, Chloe and Zoe definitely made me feel a lot better. They're the best friends ever. I guess maybe I don't hate this school quite as much anymore, but I bet Brandon thinks I'm a total klutz. Friday, September 20th. I was up and getting ready for school, and I noticed I had a huge pimple right in my cheek. Zip zap. Fresh. Spice. I almost choked on my minty fresh Tartar Control Extra Brightening Mouthwash Strength Cavity Fighting Gel Toothpaste. Sorry, but now that my crush Brandon had finally noticed I was alive, there was no way I was going to school completely disfigured like that. And I was not looking forward to Mackenzie getting all of my personal business by making nasty little comments disguised as invaluable advice like, OMG, Nikki, you have a huge zit in your cheek. But here's some invaluable advice. If you don't have any concealer, I suggest you try covering it up with your extra long nose hairs. Anyway, I knew my mom was not going to let me stay home from school unless I was spiking a temperature of at least 289 degrees, which BTW is the same temp she uses to bake her Thanksgiving turkey, 289. Mom's temperature requirements for a Thanksgiving turkey and a sick daughter. My mom's life motto is, hey, why let a little case of gangrene or leprosy get in the way of achieving a good education? 289 degrees. Mom's temperature requirements for a Thanksgiving turkey and a sick daughter. After trying every trick in the book, I finally figured out how to convince my mom I was too ill to go to school. I had to pretend to throw up all over myself. Now, how sick is that? I came up with this idea last spring after Brianna had the stomach flu. Mom took time off work Mom took time off from work and let my little sister stay home from school for an entire week. On top of that, she totally pampered Brianna by buying her all of her favorite Disney movies and a new Princess Sugar Plum computer game to keep her occupied while she was in bed. I think all that vomiting must have really gotten to Mom. About 3 weeks later, I stayed home from school with a bad case of strep throat and was hoping to at least get a couple of presents out of it. But all Mom bought me was a cruddy box of popsicles. And to make matters worse, they were the really low-calorie kind with no sugar. They tasted like frozen pickle juice on a stick. I was like, delish. Thanks a million, Mom. But I have to admit, Brianna was a lot sicker than I was. She couldn't keep anything down, not even water. I refused to go anywhere near her unless I was suited up in full puke protection gear. Me, ready for Brianna's projectile vomiting due to her stomach flu. Yuck. Since I was pretty sure Mom was not going to consider my pimples serious enough to let me stay home from school, I decided to run downstairs and make a quick batch of phony vomit. Lucky for me, I was the first one out of bed, which meant I had the kitchen completely to myself for about 15 minutes. Since things were going to get a little messy, I changed into my old heart PJs and rushed downstairs. My secret recipe was easy to make, and it looked and smelled like the real thing. Stay home from school phony vomit. 1 cup of cooked oatmeal, 1/2 cup of sour cream or buttermilk ranch dressing or anything that smells like rancid sour milk. 2 chopped cheese sticks for chunkiness, 1 uncooked egg for authentic slimy texture, 1 can of split pea soup for future green color, 1/4 cup of raisins to increase grossity. Mix ingredients and simmer over a low heat for 2 minutes. Let extra cool to warm vomit temperature. Use liberally as needed. Makes 4 to 5 cups. Warning, this stuff is so gross that it might really make you sick to your stomach and cause you to really throw up. In which case, you will really need to stay home from school. Ew! I poured about 2 cups into a bowl, ran back upstairs to my room, and dumped it down the front of my hard PJs. Then I yelled down the hall in a really whiny voice. Mom, please come quick. I don't feel so good. My stomach is really queasy and I think I'm going to black harg. That was the sound of me throwing up. Of course, it worked like a charm. Mom was totally convinced. She said that although I had an upset stomach, I was not running a temperature, and I'd probably feel better after a day of bed rest. I told her that suddenly I was feeling a lot better already, wink wink. Then she cleaned up my mess, helped me with my bubble bath, and tucked me back into bed with a kiss. I actually slept until noon. However, when I went into the kitchen to grab a bite for lunch, I suddenly realized I had completely forgotten to pour the leftovers of my phony vomit down the garbage disposal. Ew! Just great. I need to add one final important step to that recipe. Dispose of all the incriminating evidence. So when I saw that my mom had left a note for me on the counter right next to the now empty pot of puke, I just knew she was on to me, and I was in really big trouble. I totally panicked and my stomach started feeling queasy, but this time for real. Her note said, "Dear Nikki, thank you for making breakfast for us even though you were not feeling well this morning. Your oatmeal was delicious, and we all had seconds. You must cook this for us again soon. We are so very lucky to have such a kind and considerate daughter. Thanks again. Love, Mom. P.S. Hope you're feeling better." I spent the entire afternoon just lounging around, watching television, and raiding the fridge. I even ordered a pizza. Me, pigging out while I watched TV. I had 3 things to be very happy about. 1, I spent the entire day chillaxing. 2, my pimple pretty much cleared up. 3, I didn't have to clean up any leftovers from my pot of puke because my family ate it. Squee! Chips. Crunch Rush. Soda pop. Saturday, September 21st. I think I'm suffering from nomophobia. I know it sounds like some really nasty disease where you're covered from head to toe with itchy, runny sores or something hideous like that. But it's actually the irrational fear of not having a cell phone. The worst thing about nomophobia is that it sometimes causes hallucinations and makes you do insanely stupid things. I think I had an attack of this very debilitating disease when I went outside to get the mail. I thought for sure I saw a tiny, cute cell phone thingy that clips around your ear lying on the sidewalk near our mailbox. I was like, sweet, a free phone thingy. It's all good. But when I took a closer look, it was kind of a bright peachy color. I guess that when I had found was actually a hearing aid. Of course, I was devastated when I finally figured this out because I was really pumped about having found a free phone thing and just lying there on the sidewalk. I figured it probably belonged to Mrs. Wallabanger, the nice old lady who lives next door. I suspect she is hard of hearing because whenever I say good morning to her, she answers with something random like, "Thank you, dear. I got them for only $1.50 at Bertha's yard sale." My mom says she has 2 grandsons who are the same age as Brianna and me, but I haven't met them yet. She also has a scrawny little Yorkie named Cream Puff. He looked like a cute, fuzzy ball of lip with 4 paws, but he's as vicious as a Doberman. Cream Puff is super cute, but he hates everyone. Anyway, I wanted to ask Mrs. Wallabanger if she had lost her hearing aid. I figured if she hadn't, it would be a waste of my time and energy. And if she had, it would be an even bigger waste of my time and energy. I was right. This is what happened. Mrs. Wallabanger not really hearing me. Me talking very loudly. Grr, grr. Me talking to Mrs. Wallabanger, but she can't hear me. What I said. "Hi, Mrs. Wallabanger. I just stopped by to ask if you lost your hearing aid." What she said. "What did you say, Missy? Your hearing aid. Is it lost?" Speak up. Why don't ya? Did you lose your hearing aid? You said I need to lose my hairy legs? Hearing aid! Hearing aid! Don't get fresh with me, you little whippersnapper. My hairy legs are not near beeswax. Get off my property. My little chat with Mrs. Wallabanger did not go well. After she very rudely kicked me out of her yard, I just stuck the hearing aid inside her mailbox and hoped that she'd find it in there at some point. Since she only comes out of her house to walk her dog, what's the worst thing that could happen? Hey, lady, be careful. Don't step in that pile of Didn't you hear me, ma'am? I said watch out. Wet cement. Is that sound the mating call of the yellow-bellied swamp goose? Honk, 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 honk. Okay, so maybe the worst that could happen is Mrs. Wallabanger gets run over by a semi-truck. But could you really say it was my fault? Since I wanted her to stay safe, I decided the moral and right thing to do was just to give the hearing aid back to her, anonymously. I took it out of her mailbox and put it in her little gift box with a bow on it and attached a note. To Mrs. Wallabanger. Then I placed it on her front step, rang her doorbell, and ran away. It's not like I was scared of her or anything. I just wanted it to be a surprise. Later that evening, I saw Mrs. Wallabanger walking her dog, and sure enough, she was wearing her hearing aid and a huge smile. To Mrs. Wallabanger. I waved at her and said, I hope you and Cream Puff have a nice walk. Well, I always use X-Lax for my constipation, so it might work for you too, she answered. So now I'm thinking she has trouble with her hearing and her memory, because she obviously forgot to turn on her hearing aid. I'm thinking she and my grandma could probably be BFFs. Monday, September 23rd. I think Chloe and Zoe have totally lost their minds. They practically freaked out when Mrs. Peach announced she was taking 6 of her most hardworking and committed LSAs on a 5-day field trip to the New York City Public Library to participate in the National Library Week. Mrs. Peach is already making plans, even though it's in April, which is still a whole 7 months away. From what I understand, it's like a big Mardi Gras celebration for people obsessed with libraries. Chloe and Zoe actually started jumping up and down and screaming. I was like, girlfriends, take a chill pill. Please! But I just said that inside my head so no one else heard it but me. The whole time we were shelving books, they were talking nonstop about how we needed to do something really special to convince Mrs. Peach to select the 3 of us for the trip to NYC. Well, why don't we just try to be the most hardworking and committed LSAs, I suggested, and we could start by maybe dusting off the books. It was a no-brainer to me, but Chloe and Zoe both looked at me like I was crazy. All the other LSAs are going to be doing boring stuff like that to impress her, Chloe groaned. Yeah, we need to come up with a secret plan that will blow Mrs. Peach's mind, Zoe said excitedly. Okay, so dusting the library books are not exactly a mind-blowing idea, but it definitely would have solved my little sneezing problem. We were putting out a batch of brand new magazines when Chloe swiped a That's So Hot and buried her nose in it. Suddenly she gasped and then shrieked. OMG, Zoe and Nikki, this is exactly what we should do. Time, National Geographic, News Weekly, CP, Puppy Monthly. So hot. Chloe goofing off while Zoe and I work. What? Get makeovers and become teen supermodels, I asked sarcastically. No, of course not, Chloe answered. I know, we should make your face zit-proof. Zoe said, reading an ad for Zap It acne cream over Chloe's shoulder. Zoe, are you crazy? Zoe, are you crazy? Chloe exclaimed. No, just no. I decided to guess again. We should publish our own magazine so that we can give teens all over the world advice on fashion, fun, friends, flirting, guys, and love, so their lives won't be as disgustingly cruddy as ours. Chloe just gave me a gigantic eye roll. Then she flipped over the magazine and pointed at an article. This. Tattoo, if you dare. Mom. I think a tattoo promoting reading would be perfect, and it would show that we're serious and committed. Then Mrs. Peach will choose us for the future for sure. Chloe squealed excitedly. That's a wicked idea, Zoe said, staring in awe at the beautiful tattooed model in the magazine. I bet we're going to look as cool as her once we get ours. Sweet. Okay, hanging out in New York City for National Library Week sounded like a lot of fun. But there was no way I was going to try to earn that trip by getting a tattoo to celebrate reading. I mean, what kind of tattoo would I even get? Read or die. This. Tattoo, if you dare. I had to think fast. I agree this is the coolest idea ever, you guys. But I just found out a few days ago that I might be allergic to certain types of ink. So I have to be really careful about what type of artist ink I use. Which means I'm probably allergic to tattoo ink as well. Chloe and Zoe looked a little confused. Well, I would imagine that artist ink and tattoo ink are very different. And you being allergic to them both, it sounds very bizarre, Chloe said, narrowing her eyes at me skeptically like I was lying to her or something. Zoe agreed. That's when I lost and I yelled to them both. You know what I think is bizarre? Bizarre is getting a tattoo for National Library Week. But I just have that inside my head, so no one else heard it but me. Well, bizarre or not, I'm pretty sure I'm allergic, I insisted, which is really unfair because I was totally looking forward to getting a tattoo one day before I die. Then I sniffed a few times like I was very upset and emotionally distraught over not being able to get a tattoo. Nikki, if it's a medical problem, we completely understand. Right, Zoe? Chloe was trying to make me feel better. Hey, why don't you help us pick out our tattoos? We should ask our parents to take us to get them this weekend, Zoe said excitedly. I can hardly wait to see the look on Mrs. Peach's face when she sees our tattoos. But I already knew what her face was going to look like when she saw Chloe and Zoe covered with tattoos that celebrate reading. Oh no! Mrs. Peach, crash! Gah! Poor Mrs. Peach. Tuesday, September 24th. I was hoping Chloe and Zoe were finally over their totally wacky idea of getting tattoos for National Library Week. Thank goodness their parents said no way. But when I saw them in PE class, they were still pretty upset. Our PE teacher divided us up into groups of 3 for our ballet skills test, and at first I was happy that Chloe and Zoe and I were together. Each group was supposed to pick classical music from the teacher's CD collection and then make up a short dance routine using the 5 ballet positions we had learned over the past weeks. Since I knew all of them, I was sure I was going to get an A, or at least, since I knew all of them, I was sure I was going to get an A, or at lowest, maybe a B+ on the test. Me, demonstrating my awesome ballet technique. But unfortunately, Chloe and Zoe were too depressed to participate. I was like, come on guys, cheer up. We have to make up our ballet routine and practice it before we run out of time. But both of them just stared at me with big, sad puppy dog eyes. I can't believe our parents aren't letting us get tattoos. How unfair is that, Chloe whined. And now Mrs. Peach will never pick us for the trip to NYC. It's like our hopes and dreams have shriveled up and died, Zoe sniffed, wiping a tear. They spent the next 45 minutes venting, and I, being the sensitive and caring friend that I am, sat quietly and listened. Then the PE teacher came over and told us she was ready to start grading and we were going to be the second group to go. I just about had a heart attack because we hadn't picked any music or made up a routine. I ran over really quickly to grab a CD and the only one left was Swan Lake. And since I had seen Mackenzie looking at it a few minutes earlier, I was definitely a little suspicious. So the first thing I did was pop open the CD case and peek inside. I was surprised and relieved to see that a CD was still in there. Hey, I didn't trust that girl as far as I could throw her. Mackenzie's group was first, and I have to admit they were pretty good, but it wasn't due to their awesome talents. Combined, the 3 of them had like 89 years of private lessons. They danced to Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy and ended their routine like this, Mackenzie's ballet group. What a bunch of show-offs. What real classically trained ballerina would end her dance by doing splits and smiling like she just got her braces off or something? I was like, hey girlfriend, This ain't that cheesy TV show Dancing with the Stars. But I just said it inside my head, so no one else heard it but me. Mackenzie's ballet group. We were up next, and I started getting butterflies in my stomach. Not because I was nervous. I just really hated humiliating myself in public. Chloe must have seen the look on my face because she whispered, "Don't panic, just follow my lead." I took ballet lessons for 3 weeks back in 2nd grade. I said, "Thanks for sharing that, Chloe. Now I feel so much better." Then Zoe whispered, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." Ralph Waldo Emerson, which of course had nothing whatsoever to do with anything. I had a really bad feeling about our routine, and we hadn't even started it yet. Mainly because I discovered our Swan Lake CD was actually not a Swan Lake CD. It said Swan Lake on the case, but the CD inside said something else. When I read the title, I was like, "What the Swan Lake?" It was Thriller by Michael Jackson. Then my teacher snatched the CD out of my hand and popped it into her CD player and told us to take our place in front of the class. What the Swan Lake? I was about to complain that we had a slight complication with our music, but I got distracted when Mackenzie's group started squealing and hugging each other. They had gotten an A+ on their routine. But it was not like I was jealous or anything. I mean, how totally juvenile would that be? Anyway, when our music came on, Chloe must have completely forgotten we were supposed to be doing a ballet routine because she started doing some funky dance moves like she was one of those half-rotted zombies from the Thriller music video. The next thing I knew, Zoe was acting like a zombie too, so I didn't have a choice but to follow along. Plus, I figured our teacher would probably knock a few points off our grade if Chloe and Zoe were staggering around like the undead, and I was doing ballet please in 1st and 3rd positions. Okay, I really like Chloe and Zoe, but while I was up there dancing with them, I couldn't help thinking, what am I? Flag paper for freaks? I had to keep reminding myself that this whole thing was Mackenzie's fault, not theirs. Chloe, Zoe, and me performing. Ballet of the Zombies. Actually, I was surprised that Chloe and Zoe were such good dancers. It looked like our PE teacher was pretty impressed too, because when we finished, she just stared at us with her mouth open and started tapping her ink pen on her clipboard really fast. Then she asked us to see her after class. We were really nervous when we went up to talk to her because we didn't know what to expect. Chloe and Zoe thought maybe she was going to ask us to join the school's dance squad since she is the assistant coach. I was keeping my fingers crossed on that one. I had heard that the dance squad members were pretty much known as party animals. So this opportunity could help to improve my very lame rep as a socially challenged dork. I know, right? Our teacher smiled and said, "Girls, if we were doing the section on contemporary dance, you would have definitely gotten an A+. After hearing that, I was pretty sure she was going to give us a good grade on our routine, even though we had made it up on the spot and with the wrong music. Then our teacher stopped smiling. "The 3 of you were supposed to be doing classic ballet, but you weren't even close. The highest grade I can give you was a D. I'm really sorry." We were like, "Oh no, she didn't." Chloe, Zoe, and I were literally crushed. D. Zoe, Chloe, me. Then I screamed at my teacher, "Are you nuts? How in the world can you give us a D? Do you even realize how tricky those dance steps were? It was definitely a lot harder than it looked. Let me see you try to move off like a zombie, sister." But I just said all that in my head, so no one heard it but me. And get this. Then our teacher had the nerve to tell us to hit the showers. Like, what does a shower have to do with classic ballet? Absolutely nothing. I was a little peeved at Chloe and Zoe because if they had not been wasting time whining about tattoos in National Library Week, we could have made up a decent ballet routine to the correct music and maybe earned at least a C. But no. Then at lunch, things went from bad to worse. Chloe and Zoe had a total meltdown. D. Zoe, Chloe, me. They actually came up with this elaborate scheme to run away from home and live in the secret underground tunnels beneath the New York City Public Library. But the crazy part was that they planned to leave this Friday and then just hang out for 7 whole months until National Library Week rolled around in April. They figured that by arriving early, they'd get in free. Chloe said reciting at the library was going to be an exhilarating experience because they could read all the books they wanted 24 hours a day without having to check them out or reshelve them. And Zoe said they were going to live off Diet Pepsi and nachos, which they planned to swipe from the library bar. And Zoe said they were going to live off Diet Pepsi and nachos, which they planned to swipe from the library snack bar each night. Snacks, soda, nachos, closed. Chloe and Zoe using their natural instincts to scavenge for food. I cannot believe Chloe and Zoe are actually going to do something so crazy, dangerous, and illegal. And I plan to do everything within my power to stop them. Snacks, clothes, soda, nachos. Why? Because Chloe and Zoe are my best friends at this school, and my only friends at this school. But that's beside the point. Unfortunately, I only have two options. 1. Rat them out to their parents and risk losing their friendship forever. Or 2. Figure out a way to get girlfriends some tattoos for National Library Week, PDQ, which BTW means pretty darn quick. Wednesday, September 25th. I hardly got any sleep last night. I kept having horrible nightmares about Chloe and Zoe living in the secret underground tunnels beneath the NYC Public Library. In one of my dreams, they were having a dinner party with some of their neighbors. And in the scariest one, I got married to Brandon and Chloe and Zoe were bridesmaids, but they brought a few uninvited guests to my wedding. Chloe, our wedding, Zoe. I actually woke up screaming my head off until I realized it was all just a very bad dream. Thursday, September 26th. This morning at breakfast, Brianna got on my last nerve. I was just sitting there eating my Captain Crunch, reading the back of the cereal box, and trying to figure out what I was going to do about the Chloe and Zoe situation. They were planning to leave in less than 24 hours. Brianna was eating Fruity Pebbles and drawing a face on her hand with an ink pen. She said she was naming the face Miss Penelope because she was born from a pen. Brianna's hand. Our wedding. Chloe, Zoe. Brianna's hand. Even though I was trying to concentrate on my personal problems, Miss Penelope asked me to watch her perform Itsy Bitsy Spider, the Princess Sugar Plum Rock remix. The whole thing was totally annoying, because I'm not that into puppet shows. Anyway, I warned both Brianna and Miss Penelope to quit bothering me, mainly because I was in a really horrible mood. And it was not helping matters that Miss Penelope's awful singing sounded like a humpback whale in labor. She must have been highly insulted by my unbiased critique of her singing abilities because she hauled off and socked me on my arm. So I grabbed Miss Penelope and shoved her head first right into my cereal bowl. I was like, "Got milk?" Me, trying to drown Miss Penelope in my bowl of cereal. Brianna started screaming, "Stop it! Miss Penelope can't swim! Let her go! You're smushing her face!" But I wouldn't let go. That is, until my mom walked into the kitchen. "Nikki Maxwell, why on earth are you shoving your sister's hand in her cereal? Let go of her this instant." So I released Miss Penelope only because I didn't have a choice. Brianna stuck her tongue out at me. Miss Penelope says she's not inviting you to her birthday party. Nah, 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 nah. Then I stuck my tongue out at her and said, "Sorry, but I've already not been invited to a birthday party, so there." I could thank Mackenzie for that one. Anyway, I think I taught Miss Penelope a good lesson. I bet she won't be interrupting my breakfast again anytime soon. Evil grin. Since my cereal had been contaminated by Miss Penelope's germs, I dumped it into the sink and ran upstairs to my bedroom. I sat in my bed and stared at my pencil cup as a million thoughts bounced around in my head. I had to admit, the Chloe and Zoe situation seemed hopeless, and there was nothing I could do to fix it. To make matters worse, Miss Penelope was still in the kitchen singing so off-key, I thought my ears were going to bleed. I felt like taking my favorite Lucky pen, a water-based, non-toxic, dark purple gel ink pen by Hot Writer Ink, and drawing a big fat zipper across her mouth to shut her up. My lucky pen. I mainly just use it to write in my diary and to bring me good luck. But lately, the good luck part hasn't been working so well. I was twirling my pen in my fingers when suddenly the craziest idea popped into my head. I was like, "OMG, this might work." I quickly scribbled out 2 notes and then rushed off to school 15 minutes early to tape them on Chloe's and Zoe's lockers. Meet me in the janitor's closet before class starts. It's really important. Nikki. My notes of Chloe and Zoe. My lucky pen. I waited in the janitor's closet for 5 long minutes and was starting to worry they were not going to show up, but finally they did. I hope you didn't ask us to come here to try and change our minds about running away, Chloe said, real serious like. This is something we just gotta do, Zoe said, staring at the floor. It got so sad and quiet, I thought I was going to cry. I asked you both to come here to tell you about a special present I wanted to give you on Monday. But since you're leaving tomorrow, of course, this made Chloe and Zoe really curious, and they started begging me to tell them what it was. Well, you may not know this, but I'm a pretty decent artist. Not that I'm bragging or anything. And since you guys are my BFFs, I've decided to personally give you each a tattoo, temporary ones, in honor of National Library Week. At first, Chloe and Zoe just stared at me like they couldn't believe it. Then they started screaming and jumping up and down and hugging me. Me, Chloe, and Zoe doing a group hug. Just decide what kind you want, I said, and I would decide it over the weekend and draw it during lunch on Monday. But you both have to make me one promise. Anything, Zoe gushed. Let me guess. We have to ditch our plans to run away and live at the NYC library. Yep, you got that right, I exclaimed. Okay, then it's officially canceled, Chloe announced, and did jazz hands like the show was over. And there's another really important thing I need to mention, I added, hiding my smile and trying to look all scary serious. I want you both to promise me you won't bring rats to my wedding, okay? Huh? They both looked at me like I was crazy. Never mind, I giggled. It's a long story. Friday, September 27th. Before biology class started, I noticed Brandon was kind of staring at me, but I wasn't sure if it was my imagination or not. Lately, it seemed like whenever I looked at him, he was looking at me. Well, today, he actually smiled at me and said, so which cell cycle would you rather study? Mitosis or meiosis? I smiled back and kind of shrugged my shoulders because I disliked both of them equally, and I was afraid that anything I said would probably make me look like a bigger idiot than he already thought I was. But the main reason I couldn't talk to Brandon was because I was suffering from a very severe and debilitating case of RCS, or roller coaster syndrome. Studies show that it mainly attacks girls between the ages of 8 and 16. The symptoms are difficult to describe, but whenever Brandon talks to me, my stomach feels like I'm dropping 900 feet at 80 miles per hour. Simply calling the butterflies is a common and dangerous misdiagnosis. Suddenly, and without warning, I feel compelled to throw my hands up in the air like I just don't care and scream, "Wee! I so love to hate this feeling!" Me, riding the love roller coaster. Then my day got even better. While I was working in the library, Brandon came in to return a book called Photography and You. I was just sitting there doodling a few tattoo designs for Chloe and Zoe when he leaned across the counter and peeked at my notebook. Now that is good. I didn't know you were an artist. I didn't know you were an artist. I looked around to see who he was talking to. Then I totally freaked out when I realized he was actually talking to me. I could hardly breathe. Thanks, but it's no big deal. I've been going to art camp like forever. And last summer I got practically 1 million mosquito bites, and wow, do they ever itch. I babbled like an idiot. Well, one thing is for sure, you definitely got skills. Whee! I so love to hate this feeling. Me riding the love roller coaster. Brandon's hair was hanging in his eyes as he smiled and kind of leaned in even closer to look at my sketches. I thought I was going to die. He smelled like Snuggle fabric softener, Axe body spray, and red licorice. I couldn't stop blushing, and there was no way I could draw with him watching me like that. I started feeling that roller coaster thing all over again. Whee! Then his face lit up. Hey, are you entering the avant-garde art competition? Then his face lit up. Hey, are you entering the avant-garde art competition? I'll be covering it for the newspaper. Yeah, I'm thinking about it, but everyone is saying Mackenzie's fashion illustrations are going to win this year, so I don't know. Mackenzie, are you kidding? You have more talent in your small's burp than she has in her entire body. I'm serious. You know that, right? I could not believe Brandon actually said that. It was so rude, so wickedly funny. So true! We both laughed really hard. I didn't know he had such a wacky sense of humor. Soon Chloe and Zoe came staggering up to the front desk, each loaded down with a stack of books that needed to be put away. When they saw us, their mouths dropped open. They looked at me, then at Brandon, then at me again, then at Brandon, then back at me, then Brandon, then me, then Brandon again. This went on like forever. They were gawking at us like we were a new animal exhibit at the city zoo or something. Please do not feed the animals. Hey, check out those two. It must be mating season or something. It was so embarrassing. Brandon's smile went slightly crooked, but otherwise he acted cool and nonchalant about the whole thing. Hey, Chloe. Hey, Zoe, Brandon said, waving. But they were so shocked, they didn't even answer him. Well, I better get back to class. See you later, Nikki. Then he strolled out the door and disappeared into the hall. Chloe and Zoe made a big deal over Brandon talking to me like that, and started nagging me to admit he was my secret crush. After I made them both pinky swear not to tell anyone, I told them about how Brandon had helped me up after Mackenzie tripped me in the cafeteria 10 days ago. Then I grabbed my backpack and unzipped the cute little pocket in front and showed them the napkin. At first they just stared at it in awe, but soon they were teasing me and giggling like two kindergartners. Brandon and Nikki sitting in a tree. Kissing. I told them to shut up before someone overheard them, and it got out all over the school. Chloe insisted that I keep the napkin for the rest of my life because there was a chance that Brandon and I could accidentally meet up on some lush exotic island 20 years from now. She said it could happen just like it did in those romantic comedies at the movie theater. My best friend's napkin, directed by Chloe Cristina Garcia. Brandon, I couldn't help but notice you from across the room and to be hopelessly drawn to your brains and beauty. It almost seems that we've met before, perhaps in another place, another time, another life. Me. Alas, allergy season is upon us. Please take this most cherished napkin from my very heart-wrenching mysterious past and do with it what you want, what you must. True! Me. What a powerful sneeze you have. It is aptly captured in this delicate napkin of forgotten love. Now merely a disposable tissue drenched in lost and shattered dreams. Brandon. Hark! Do mine eyes deceive me? I recognize our napkin in even the darkest of murky depths. My joy and passion overwhelm me. Brandon. Is it really you, my beloved Nikki? Finally, I found my true love. Will you marry me? Me. Brandon, I've waited for this moment forever. Well, since middle school anyway. My answer is yes. 1,000,000 times yes. And then we lived happily ever after. The end. I told Chloe her story was really sweet and romantic. But if the napkin was really dripping with snot and Brandon proposed on the spot like that, my story would probably have a different ending. Brandon. Me. Me. Brandon. Brandon. Me. Me. Gee, Brandon, I think we need to take things a bit slower. First, let's get rid of the snotty napkin. Ew. Second, how about pizza in a movie? The end. Zoe said she didn't blame me for rewriting Chloe's happy ending because snot and airborne bacterial particles were highly contagious and the most common way of transmitting germs to others. But Chloe complained we both totally missed her point. The napkin, germy or not, should be cherished because it was a token of Brandon's love. And after reading hundreds of teen romance novels, she had learned that forbidden love, obsession, and sacrifice could be very messy things, just like snot. I had to admit that Chloe had a really good point. I'm just really glad Chloe and Zoe know so much about guys, dating, love, and stuff like that, because I don't have a clue. Duh! Saturday, September 28th. This is going to be my longest diary entry ever. I have the most horrible headache, and it's all Brianna's fault. Why couldn't I have been born an only child? Okay, this is what happened. My mom and Brianna were supposed to see a matinee movie today. But Mom needed to go to the mall to buy a present for a baby shower she was attending later this evening. So she offered me $10 to take Brianna to the movie in her place. Since I was broke, I agreed to do it. I figured that at the worst, I could sleep at the movie and earn $10 for a 90-minute nap. The movie was called Princess Sugar Plum Saves Baby Unicorn Island Part 3. There must have been 400 squealing little girls there, and half of them were dressed up like princess and unicorns. I should have charged my mom $50 for taking Brianna because the whole event was so sugary sweet, it actually made me nauseous. But Brianna thought the movie was super scary because there was a fairy in it. She has this irrational fear that the tooth fairy is going to pull out all her teeth to make dentures for old people. I guess you could say she suffers from fairy phobia. Anyway, Brianna practically drove me crazy because every time the fairy appeared on the screen, she got really scared, grabbed my arm, and bumped my popcorn. A terrified Brianna keeps bumping my popcorn. I must have dumped my entire box on the nice lady sitting next to me. But when that nice lady looked like she was going to punch me, I decided it would be safer to eat candy instead. I was too happy when that stupid movie was finally over. Brianna and I were waiting near the main entrance for Mom to pick us up. A terrified Brianna keeps bumping my popcorn. However, when I saw Dad pull up in his Maxwell's bug extermination van, I got a really bad feeling. Although that creepy-looking roach bottled to the top of his van gave most people a really bad feeling. BTW, the roach's name is Max, courtesy of Brianna, because if I had a puppy, I'd name him Max. I was like, oh crud. If anyone from my school saw me getting into Dad's van, my life would be over. I scanned the crowd for middle school kids, and luckily it was still mostly 3 to 6-year-olds. Hi girls, hop in. Your mom's still shopping. I just got an emergency call, so you get to ride along to keep me company, my dad said, winking. Popcorn. A terrified Brianna keeps bumping my popcorn. I was like, thanks, Dad, but I have an awful lot of homework to do, so could you just drop me home first, please? I was trying really hard to remain calm. My dad glanced at his watch and frowned. Sorry, but I don't have time to swing by the house. This customer's hysterical and has agreed to pay my emergency rates. She's hosting some kind of big shindig later today and says her house is crawling with bugs inside and out. Hundreds of them just showed up out of the blue this morning. Ick, Brianna blurted, scrunching up her nose. Sounds like a box elder infestation to me, Dad continued. Hopefully she's not throwing that baby shower your mom is supposed to be attending later today. I grumpily climbed into the front seat of the van and tried to slouch down really low so no one could see me. Whenever we stopped at a red light, a bunch of people would point, stare, and laugh. Not at me, at our roach. For some reason, Brianna thought all the gawkers were just being friendly, so she started smiling, waving and throwing kisses out the window like she had just been crowned Miss America or something. And Dad was pretty used to all the rude stares. He just ignored them and hummed along to his Saturday Night Fever CD. Thank goodness I noticed an empty grocery bag sticking out from under the seat. Even though it said warning to avoid serious injury or death, please keep plastic away from very young children, I poked 2 aisles in it and pulled it down over my head. First of all, I wasn't a very young child. And second of all, I'd rather suffer a slow and painful death by asphyxiation than be splattered riding around in a roachmobile. I have to admit, we were a bug extermination freak show on wheels. Maxwell's. OMG, it was so embarrassing. I wondered how serious my injuries would be if I jumped from a moving vehicle traveling 45 miles per hour. Assuming I survived, I could at least walk home and end the humiliating ride in Dad's van. About 10 minutes later, we drove up a long driveway that led to a huge house. Wow, nice house, I thought. Too bad it had its bugs. Brianna stared at the house in awe. Daddy, can I go inside with you, pretty please? Sorry, Pumpkin, but you'll have to wait out here in the van with your sister to make sure no one steals Max, okay? Like, who in their right mind would want Max? 2 shiny black bugs about a half-inch long landed on the window of our van. Yep, box elders are alright, Dad said, eyeing them carefully. Basically just a harmless eyesore. To spray the entire premise will probably take about 30 minutes. Basically just a harmless eyesore. To spray the entire premises will probably take about 30 minutes. But I'll try to get it done as fast as I can. If you girls need anything, I'll be right inside. Dad unloaded his equipment and logged it off the front steps. Before he could ring the doorbell, a frantic-looking middle-aged lady in designer clothing opened the door and ushered him in. Brianna started to pout. I want to go in there with Dad. No, you're supposed to stay here and watch Max, remember? I said sternly. Brianna wrinkled her nose at me. You watch, Max. I gotta go to the bathroom. Brianna, Dad will be back real soon. Can't you just hold it a little longer? No, I gotta go now. I was like, just great. All this drama for a measly $10. Okay, fine, I said finally. Okay, fine, I said, finally giving in. When we go inside, don't touch anything. Just use the bathroom and come right out. Got that? I want to say hi to Dad, too. No, I want to say hi to Dad, too. No, you're going to use the bathroom, and then we're coming back to the van to wait for... Before I could finish my sentence, Brianna slid open the van door and dashed out to the front steps. By the time I caught up with her, she was already leaning on the doorbell. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. The flustered-looking lady answered the door again and looked surprised to see Brianna and me. I really apologize for disturbing you, I stammered, but we were out in the van waiting for our dad. And my little sister... That's when Brianna very rudely interrupted me. Hey, lady, I gotta go pee. Brianna totally embarrassing me. Then she started squirming and making ugly faces for maximum dramatic effect. My sister was acting like she had the manners of a barnyard animal. The lady looked at Brianna, then at me, and then back at Brianna. Finally, she stretched her thin red lips into a strained smile. So your dad is our exterminator. Sure, honey, the bathroom is right this way. Follow me. The inside of the house looked like something out of one of my mom's fancy home and garden magazines. We were headed down the hallway off the foyer when the lady stopped in her tracks. Oh wait, there's bug spray in all the bathrooms on the main floor. You're going to have to use one upstairs. All the bedrooms have an attached bathroom. I'm escorting myself, but my caterer is supposed to call me any second now for a final head count. Hey lady, I gotta go pee. Brianna totally embarrassing me. I'm escorting myself, but my caterer is supposed to call me any second now for a final head count. Alright guys, that is reading Dork Diaries, Tales from a Not-So-Fabulous Life, Book 1, Part 2 of 3. Ladies and gentlemen, next video, we're going to finish the first Dork Diaries book. We just read pages 110 to 219 and left off on 220. Next video, we're going to read pages 220 until the end of the book, which is 220 to 327. If you want to enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications, because that was reading Dork Diaries, Tales of a Not So Fabulous Life, Super Sweet Edition, #1 New York Times bestselling series by Rachel Renee Russell, Book 1, Part 2 of 3. Subscribe, like, and turn on post notifications. Part 3 of 3 coming soon. Peace!